Hey everyone, Mark and Joey back here on a Thursday morning. Looking forward to, after a great NBA game last night, win by the Raptors. Tonight we go into the NHL, which we don't actually have a team of ours, but certainly a cheering for the Canadians that are on the different teams that are integral parts of the playoffs. And the big story is Chara with Boston.
Yeah, he's got a puck to the face, as you might, if you follow hockey, you know this by now. You watch Game 4, you would have seen it. The report is a broken jaw. No surprise there, but obviously, believe it or not, hockey players will still try to play through that.
Oh, yeah.
So he wore a fishbowl third period of that game. Whenever the puck, after the puck hit him, and he didn't play though. So that tells me they weren't very confident, even though they put the fishbowl on. When fishbowl, by the way, is it's like a full visor, I guess, like a full face visor. It's clear. He normally does not wear anything. You mentioned that before, so it's got to be a little weird for him, but. Yeah, he did not play despite having that. He has not practiced since. I don't expect him going here in Game 5. I feel like they'll wait, see if they can get by Game 5 without him. And then, worst case scenario, I don't think you'll be able to hold him back if there's a Game 6 that is a must-win for Boston here.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, these kinds of injuries are very painful. Even though they wear the full fishbowl mask, he's going to be hampered even if he's on the ice. As we mentioned in the last show, the rule is in the NHL is all the players have to wear a half visor. He is one of the old timers who got grandfathered in, didn't have to do that. So he's never worn the visor at all. And so now putting this on is very foreign to him, and it's a full one. So even the guys who are used to wearing the half one, when they have to wear a full one, it's a whole different feel out on the ice. And for him, never having wore even the half mask, it's going to be very difficult for him to play. I think you might see him on the bench, and you might see the game go, and then they'll determine if they need him or don't need him. We'll see what happens there. I mean, if he's not going to be good enough to play, they always want an extra guy on the bench because in the playoffs, of course, with overtime and other possibilities, you need fresh legs. You can't be taking your stars and making them work too hard during the game because you've got to be able to last. And so they may not risk a position player not stepping in.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think they'll dress him if he can't play you right. I don't think they want that. They didn't play him last game, and to me that's a sign because he had the fishbowl on. Everything else is kind of normal, so why wouldn't he give it a few shifts? It was a tight game. It was, he could have probably used to rest someone on that defensive end. So I think if he's not good to go, if he's not practicing today yet, I don't think he's going, and I think they're going to have someone else. They won't dress him, and, doesn't mean he won't be a leader in the locker room, intermission, stuff like that, but he won't be on the ice. Yeah,
I think it's a very real possibility. Now, what does this mean to the game? He's obviously a force out there all the time. Not only is he a tough, big guy, but the reach he has with the stick is ridiculous. The team I coached years ago in junior, we had a 6'7" defenseman, and you don't have to do much when you're 6'7". I mean, you stand in position on the ice, and you can move that stick around to bother guys or at least make them go around you. You are just a huge force no matter what, and they'll miss that. I think it'll be a big deal.
Well, I mean, you kind of saw it in Game 4 there. They weren't really the same without him. First of all, they only have 5D that have been playing on a regular basis, so how do you integrate that? Do you give the sixth guy you call up for tonight's game, how much ice time do you give him? How much trust do you give him? Or are you flipping lines all the time on these defensemen? People don't understand that chemistry is a big part of defensemen. Knowing where your guy's going to be, trusting that he's going to be here, there. They're going to pass the puck right a certain way. I think it's a big effect on Boston. I think they lose this game tonight if he doesn't suit up. I think he's their leader. I think he's their energizer guy because he easily makes big hits and big plays. I think it's going to be difficult for 5D to really go at it and rotate lines and rotate players. I think it's very difficult. I think the sixth man is going to have to play.
Yeah.
But it ruins their power play, ruins their penalty kill, which are specialty stuff. I don't know. St. Louis hasn't taken much advantage of it so far this series. In fact, he's given up a shorthanded goal already. How does that affect the power play of St. Louis going forward, knowing that Charo's not there, down low, waving his stick, like you say, blocking so many passes, or at least making it difficult viewer-wise to find your guy to set up a goal. I think it's a big loss for Boston. And Tuukka Rask's he's going to need to play a great game, I think, for them to win this one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, one of the things that a guy like Chara does, he's tough, too. Like, he isn't just a softie who's waving a stick around. This guy bangs in the boards. He can really scare guys out on that ice but with his pure size and his toughness. This is a big, big loss. And I think, interesting enough, you mentioned this. defense have to be more in sync than forward lines need to be. I mean, forward lines are going forward. The passes are happening. It's kind of instinctive. You played a lot of forward in your life. Guys are always changing positions. There's 3 of you out there, but they're always changing at different lines. Like when, the left winger all of a sudden goes off and a new guy comes on the bench. Being a forward is much more reactive, I would say, than defense.
Well, I think forwards have like a standard play, like dump it in, one guy goes, gets it, the next man gets it, passes
almost
the guy
doesn't matter who's
net,
on the ice, yeah.
Right? Or you go in the net, you drop it, you shoot it, the other guy's going in the net. Like, there's kind of set plays. On defense, it's a lot of feel, it's a lot of trust, it's a lot of communication. Well, you might deal with a guy, may not even speak English, I don't know, and how does he yell at you in Russian or something, or just isn't a communicative guy. He's not the loud guy of his defensive pair. You're not the loud guy of your defensive player. Well, good luck communicating on where to pass pucks and stuff like that. There's a lot of trust, a lot of differences. They're used to rotations. Rotations can be different between each pairing because of strength and weakness of each defenseman themselves.
Yeah.
I just think it's very difficult. I think they'll have to go with 6D first of all. But who's that 6th defenseman and how much do you trust them? It's just a difficult situation for Boston. I think they lose tonight. I'm going with St. Louis. I don't think Chara's playing. If he does play, it's a little different, but even so, I don't think it'll be limited minutes.
Yeah,
it will be probably power play type stuff.
And he won't be as tough. He's going to be watching his jaw.
A jaw is a big deal.
Exactly.
And so I think it's a tough game for Boston here going forward.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's hard to single out a defenseman, you would think, as the real key to a team, but there's no doubt.
He's also the captain, though.
He's the captain. He's everything. He's intimidating. He logs a lot of minutes because he doesn't have to move that much. But as you were saying, though, even simple passes like D to D, when the puck comes in, being able to send it to your guy. These guys are, they practice and practice and practice. They know where their partner's going to be. Some guys on that D pass are a little bit further behind. Some play a little further up. Guys are more equal. There's patterns that they put into place of moving the puck in their own end. And the problem is the mistakes are magnified because the puck usually ends up in the net. Where on the offensive side, that's not as big a deal.
Yeah.
But if your defense is in a position where they're not comfortable and they're not making those passes, first of all, you got to be quick because the guys that are coming down on you are quick, so you've got to make these moves. There isn't a lot of time to make a decision, to change the feel, all those kinds of things. So we need to see that we're in a position with Chara that this is really impactful in my mind. This is not quite of the level of what the Warriors have gone through in basketball, but certainly this is taking Durant off the ice. Let's say he's so big, so intimidating. I think it's that impactful to Boston. I have to agree with you. I think I find it hard tonight that Boston's going to win without him on the ice. In a game where 16 or 17 players flow, even 18 players are flowing all the time. It's hard to say this one guy, but he's that impactful, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah, and he's the captain. He's the leader. He is the Boston Bruins logo.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just what you do physically, I guess would be the word for it. It's what you do mentally. It's what you do to other teams. Every forward on St. Louis right now is taking a deep breath and putting a smile on their face if he doesn't play. And they're going to be
first of all, they're just happy their body won't hurt so much.
That's what I mean, but then they're going to be ultra aggressive. You gotta think
sure
too.
they are.
And Chara normally goes against the best line, so you don't think that number one line St. Louis is going, oh my God, finally! I get to go into a corner and not get absolutely blasted. So it's going to be a big game for St. Louis. I think they got to have it.
Well, they got to have it without a doubt. You never want to go down 3-2, that's for sure. Especially with Game 7 back in Boston's arena. And I think the other part of it is, now, here's the only caveat to this. Tuukka Rask is capable of having an unbelievable game. I mean, I think this is going to come down to goaltending for Boston. He's going to have one of those superhero games. It's just, he can't be average. St. Louis is going to be all over them. He has got to make saves that, first of all, stops the puck, but spurs on his team. And he's going to be the key tonight. He's going to have to be unbelievable.
Yeah, but I don't think
he can be.
I don't think it would be something new to the Boston Bruins. So I don't know how much that will help. I mean, obviously it helps when your goaltender.
Well, the puck doesn't go in the net.
Yeah, but I mean, as motivation, I don't think it's like a bad goal having a great game.
No.
They're expecting that from Rask, and they have to have it, but they're also expecting it. So I think he's just going to do it. I think, though, what I've proven with St. Louis all year long is when they let in less than 3, they win. They're able to score goals. If they let in less than 3, they should win tonight against a beat-up Boston Bruins, and really you shouldn't give up more than 2 goals tonight. So that's my thing with St. Louis. It doesn't matter how great Rask is. What they've proven is every time they hold the team under 3 goals, they can find a way to 3 goals. It's amazing.
Their goalie's playing well, and
so
they are.
I don't think Tuukka Rask is going to be enough. I don't think they'll be motivated off Tuukka Rask because he does it so often. But that crowd could definitely motivate them. You know, that crowd in Boston's hectic. They're going to be in it. I just think it's too much for Boston to overcome just because of the confidence St. Louis is after game 4 win. They're good on the road, and you don't have your best defenseman. I just think they're ultra aggressive tonight. I think St. Louis gets it done. I think it's 4-2 St. Louis.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that with this with Chara being out, and agree. St. Louis has been great on the road. Matter of fact, better than they've been at home, as we see by the split 1-1 in both home arenas. So there is no definitive. And actually, Boston doesn't have an unbelievable home record. They're not as dominant as some other teams that were at the top, where home ice made a huge difference to their year either. So I think we've got that possibility out there. I did pick the Bruins for the series, but I must say that Chara worries me as much as some of the, if you follow basketball, some of the injuries the Warriors have had. Same thing. It's a big issue. And I think it's going to be tough tonight.
I expect maybe finally a power play goal out of St. Louis tonight.
Honestly,
that's why I think it could be a difference maker. Maybe 2 power play goals here or there for St. Louis, I think is going to be key. So I think that's where you're going to take advantage if you're St. Louis, and that's where you're going to get some goals. And this number 1 line needs to feast, or whoever he goes up against. I think it's obviously normally the number 1 line.
Yeah.
Whoever he goes up against, those guys are going to have to feast tonight. They know he's out. They're going to take exploit of that. Now again, this is all with the present, the fact he hasn't practiced, he has a broken jaw. We not expect him to play.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would even give him the benefit of the doubt if he did play, because I feel like he'd be so banged up. I feel like it would be limited minutes. I feel like they're protecting him because at the end of the day, they lose tonight. They get to go on the road to St. Louis, win Game 6. They got chances, although, I mean, man, this is a big game, but I don't think he's effective whether he plays or doesn't. So,
well, I think you're right.
I like St. Louis.
Actually, the challenge of him playing really is he won't even be very good, because people, if you haven't played the game, don't understand what this fishbowl does to a guy who's never worn anything on his face. His peripheral vision will be affected. He'll be uncomfortable. He won't move the puck the same way. All these things happen when you go through that. He's going to be protecting the jaw, so he's not going to be as powerful and hitting and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's even worthwhile. He also risks, it's funny about hockey players, man. They risk everything, but he's risking permanent injury by, if he got hit again or something happened to his jaw. I mean, this is kind of affecting your life. And so I think he's going to sit out. I think they'll give him some time. Hopefully he'll be ready to come back in Game 6 and 7. I know with Boston, nothing can put them down. I mean, when you happen to win 6 or 7 could happen easily. Game 7 at home. So I'm with you. I think St. Louis is going to win tonight. Then we're going to have to see what this injury looks like in Game 6 and 7. However, they're great teams. Great teams can sometimes put in a game that you just don't believe all of a sudden. Like they might play a more defensive game or whatever,
it's one
right?
guy at the end of the day. Their offense is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Although Patrice Bergeron is probably a little banged up, but arguably their offense is fine. Their goaltender's fine. So you have the main pieces there. It's one guy the whole team, and one guy on defense. I just think that it opens up more. I just feel like that's one thing St. Louis needs to go their way, is they need something like this to happen. I think they took advantage of it in Game 4.
Yeah.
They're just going to take advantage of it. I think their offense is too much. That's really why I'm doing it. But at the end of the day, it is one guy. It's hockey, man. You next man up, rotation, play better offense, play better defense, your goaltender play better, you score 4 goals. You never know. Bainton has a bad game, he's still a rookie. You never know. But I'm just thinking that confidence is with St. Louis. I think him not playing is going to give the guys who normally go up against him, get beat up in the corner all the time, and go to the front net and get beat up all the time, are going to feel great about themselves.
I think so.
And I just think they'll be too free and too happy with Char out that they'll go on and play a great game. And I think the power play might be something that steps up tonight too for St. Louis. Assuming they get some power plays, I think they'll score 1 or 2 without Char out there. It is just one player, but he plays a lot of minutes, like you said, and he's a defenseman. So, can Boston win it? Of course they can, but I don't want them to, so I'm not giving you any reason why they can, okay?
Yeah. Well, one of those reasons is coaching. We talk about this a lot in every sport, and there's always a debate of how impactful a coach is, but they're going to need a strategy that's a little bit different than normal tonight with Char out, and that would be the one thing. They might play more defensive. They may go for a 2-1 win, these kinds of things that they can make happen. Just take some coaching, some strategy to work this out. So certainly, as you say, nothing precludes Boston from winning this game tonight. It wouldn't shock any of us. I mean, they're in the Stanley Cup Finals. They were a second seed all this year, so none of that was surprising. I agree with you, though. I think St. Louis tonight, we'll have to evaluate 6 and 7 after that, but I think this is a big loss for Boston. But either way, We love watching hockey. It'll be a hard-hitting game. Boston might actually, pump that up a little bit more, be tougher. They're a team with a lot of tenacity. They're tough. They hit a lot. I think they'll go down that route of being able to just hopefully help bang St. Louis, make them, resent coming into their end, and we'll see what that does. But I think that's the only way they're going to win. They'll up that. They certainly did it against the Leafs. There was a couple games they ran the Leafs right out of the building with hard hitting, a lot of slashing, a lot of stuff in close and all that kind of stuff. And I think you're going to see that kind of game. A very chippy game, I think, tonight. Might be a lot of penalties, which might, sway the game one way or another. We'll see what that brings. But Boston, probably more than anybody else in the league, can play that kind of tough, little bit dirty game, lots of hitting. They can play, they can ramp up that game whenever they want to, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. However, St. Louis has actually out-hit them a lot in this series, which has surprised me.
They're just as dirty, so.
Yeah, it just really surprised me that they've been able to do that. But Boston certainly has that ability to get pretty tough and be a real pain in the ass when it comes down to it. So anyway, we're going to enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back to talk the recap tomorrow, and then we'll be watching the Char progress into Game 6 and 7. You guys have a good game. Watch it and enjoy the game tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow.